Welcome back to Love Living Local 315, where we highlight the people making a difference across central New York. I'm your host, Scott Greats, and today we have not one, but two incredible guests. Dan Williams, the visionary behind Blueberry Brook Farm Resort, a retreat-style getaway rooted in nature, community, and renewal. And David Casullo, leadership developer, entrepreneur, and co-founder of Daneli Partners and Rock City Development, whose work helps build strong organizations, vibrant communities across New York State. And together, they bring perspectives on outdoor living, community building, leadership, and purpose. We're excited to explore their journeys, passions, and the change that they're working towards. Welcome, Dan and Dave, the two Ds.
Scott, thanks for having me.
Yeah, man.
It's great to be here, particularly with this guy.
Oh, yeah, man. I'm excited to meet Dan. First time. Dave is my brother from another mother, my spirit animal. Couldn't even sleep last night knowing you were coming in. I don't get to see enough of this guy.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, super pumped to figure out how we can do this efficiently, because we could probably make this a 7-part series, the breadth of knowledge you guys have. But Dan, let's start with you. Let's talk about Blueberry Brook Farm Resort. What was that defining moment? I'm almost picturing like Field of Dreams, right? If you build it, they will come, right? What was that defining moment when you said, I want to do this?
Yeah, so COVID, everyone's got a COVID story. For me, I couldn't do the Mud Fest. And if you know, I do Daniel Barden Mud Fest every year. We had a great year on T, and it was like COVID came. And I tell people this, I was like, after a month, I was like a caged animal. I could only work 12 hours a day. So I cut a hole in the fence. I started working in the woods, making this trail. And a year later, I had the uphill trail done. And I looked at the back side of Blueberry, because that Blueberry Brook was the neighboring farm.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, wow. I wonder, it's for sale. And I called my CFO. I was like, can I buy this? He goes, absolutely not. You don't have the, you don't have the capital. And
Stupid CFOs.
Yes, way too much going on. But at the same time, it borders your property, and you should totally you have to do it. So pushed everything in and kind of figured it out. I got blessed that Ginny and Bob Paluski took an old farmhouse in 32 acres and turned it into, I call it the Museum of Ginny, 5-bedroom house, private baths in each room. And it's literally, if you haven't been there, Dave has. It's just
Stunning.
It's stunning,
Yeah.
Unique.
Yeah, and just crazy. And 7 years it took her to build this house. Every room's one of a kind. All the doors were redone. And when I started, I was like Airbnb. Got to make money. Got to cash flow. But as I got further along, I've been sober 7 years, and I really didn't want to have cigarette butts and Bud Light cans on the property. And I can't ask Jenny to make these doors over again.
Yeah.
And I had done some weddings, and I was like, yeah, I want to do something different with the property. And so we made this transition. We're still in it. Like your podcast. I don't know where I'm going, but I know where I'm at today.
Just jump, figure it out on the way down.
And that's what we're doing. So that 244 acre property now is something that I'm building that's agriculture meets adventure, meets rejuvenation.
Yeah.
And we'll see.
All right. And we'll dive much deeper there. Dave, I don't know if this is a fair question to have you answer in like 2 minutes, but let's go through your journey. Let's actually start at the end, because what fascinates me and one of the many things I love about you is, let's be honest, like, you don't have to work, right? Like, you had a whole career. You did very well. You've lived all over the country and traveled the world, but you chose to come back to Little Falls, and you chose to start Daneli Partners. Why?
Yeah, the reality is I'm not sure. I think each of us has within us something that matters deeply. And when we choose to sort of mine deeply into our souls, we stumble upon what that is. Then it really doesn't matter what we've done, how much we've earned. There's a building desire to do something about it, particularly with the remaining runway that the good Lord would afford us. So I always say, for whatever reason, it begins and ends with Little Falls. It's in my soul. I married Lori, my high school sweetheart, and she's from Little Falls. My brother, who's the most famous of the Casullos.
For now.
Yeah. He would tell you he is. He loves Little Falls, but, has done his thing and moved away. He lives in Fort Lauderdale and part-time Syracuse. And my sister, who also loves Little Falls, she lives in Rochester and has her entire career. So there's something that has pulled me back to the Mohawk Valley. And as I've explored what it is that needs doing here, and you both know this well, it's giving leaders, continued magnification of their energy and clarity around what it is that you point yourself at, and together helping each of us rise and bring others with us, because this region needs us. And that really lights my fire, and I'm passionate about it. So that's evolved into the businesses that, we hold. And I think the rest of the story, but I'll stop there.
Yeah, and we'll dive deeper there too. Okay. A lot of this conversation is going to be around collaboration. And so let's figure out why you're both here together. Where did the collaboration begin? And what are you hoping to achieve together?
Yeah, so David and I kind of lucked out on this. When I bought the Blueberry property, my wife said no, and I was a different person in 2022, and I was like, no, we're doing this, and that's not the best thing you want to do with your spouse and your business partner. But I did, and I got spent about a year where my wife didn't even want to step foot on property, and we had a watershed moment where my coach told me just show up every day, do the right thing, and she's going to come around, and then shut your mouth. Okay. So it was like 2 years. Would have been actually not even that long ago. Last Christmas Eve was maybe in November. My wife said, "Can we do Christmas Eve at Blueberry?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm going to cry," because it was extremely difficult. It was like winning the Super Bowl and hiding the trophy, because I'm a farm kid. I grew up with nothing. We didn't have clothes to go to school. Good new school clothes. It was like cut the toe out on your sneaker and wear them another season. Any rate, we have Christmas Eve, and Jody Miller Caladona now said, "What are you doing with the house?" I said, "I'm doing this Airbnb thing, but I don't really feel fulfilled, and I don't love that clientele, and I want to use this to deliver more value to the world." And she's like, "Have you ever heard of Daneli?" And then that was the start. That's how Dave and I connected. We haven't talked in a few months. I had hired a guy to, I don't want to get deep into this, but I hired a guy to run my core business, was Williams Benson Excavation. I stepped back into the leadership role, CEO and president, in October, and it's been awesome. Dave gave me a little coaching on what to do on that, because it was a lot. The last 3 months, we've only talked once. We did a nice little fireside chat in the morning. Dave gave me some great direction, and we've last 3 months have been a whirlwind, but it's been awesome. And to be able to see you again, Dave, I'm like, man, we gotta do this more often.
Definitely, yeah.
So what's the vision? Where does Daneli fit?
Yeah, so you mentioned collaboration.
Yeah.
There's a lot of settings where leader development can complement the business strategy. And we saw that, with his organization, not only the farm, but also the fencing company. And, there's a lot of ways that we see things alike. He's a student of leadership, and voracious reader. We align on a lot of the principles. But what the three of us align on, that's, I think, a differentiator amongst many people who choose to get into the leadership development world is that we've sweat the sweat, bled the blood, suffered the scars, learned from just doing, and in many cases failing, persevering through fortitude, working hard, learning about the elements of leadership that are specifically necessary to be successful here in Central New York. It's hard. I just had this conversation with a couple of very wealthy people outside of here. I didn't want to dismiss, what they're doing and how they got to where they are, but I said, "You want a real challenge? Come and do it in the Mohawk Valley, and we'll see just how good you really are, because it's tough." So when Dan and I met, there's certain people that not only share the foundation of those kinds of things that creates a magnification of my energy. You start to work yourselves into a bit of a frenzy about envisioning what could be and how. And then there's this fundamental common denominator of caring about this area in a way that really is unique to us. Once that's established, then the how becomes the focus. How can we make this work? Same with you, Scott. That's kind of how you and I got together and started to really.
How did we get there? Katie Drake?
Katie Drake.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Katie the connector.
Katie says, "You got to meet this guy." And I said, "Well,
Yeah, she said the same thing to me.
Yeah.
She's like, she hyped you up, and I'm like, now you've overhyped them. It's like that movie that everyone loves. Like, you can't watch it because they won't live up to the
Falls
hype.
short.
But you lived up to the hype,
Same.
and then some.
Same with Dan.
On that point, Dave, I think that was one of the biggest things that I connected with you on. I've got a chip on my shoulder, big time, being in upstate New York. I remember my dad calling Utica the armpit of New York.
Oh, yeah.
We could talk about the 90s when the bass.
I think that was on a bumper sticker for like 10 years.
Oh, my gosh. I just want to put that in the bag with should, would, could, if, hopefully, and that notion that we can't be the great city on the hill. I believe that the upside potential for our area is insane. Really, I've been all over this great country. I was actually got a camper van, Ricky, built out, and I was out in British Columbia. And I, obviously between here and there, I got to see a lot of land. 10,000 an acre for land that's just holding the world together. The crow and the rabbit shake hands out there. There's nothing, and I'm going, my gosh, you can come buy a piece of upstate New York for a fraction of that. We can simply work anywhere. Right, with technology where it's at, and Amazon will deliver it to you. We've got tons of
drones,
right? Yeah, we have tons of water. I'm very bullish about Deansboro. My friends that don't live in the area call me Deansboro Dan. The town board, some of my neighbors, I've been coaching them on. We're either growing or dying. We're between Colgate University and Hamilton College, and I'll be god darned. Okay. There we go. Caught myself.
See what you did there.
Yeah, but I'm so determined to have Deansboro have an actual light. I'm so determined for our town to be better than when I was born in it.
Yeah.
And we are either growing or dying. And the mindset that we've had in this Mohawk Valley is that it's like this hospital. People are rooting against the win.
We're rooting against ourselves.
Yeah. We need level 1 care here.
Right.
God forbid. My dad had a stroke, and this is a good win story. And they brought him to the win and saved him 2 years ago, right? Boilermaker weekend. And that's where I'm at. And when that's why I connected with Dave. It was like, Dave's doing the same thing with Little Falls. In fact, when I told my dad that I was working with you in Little Falls, he goes, "Man, what is Little Falls still alive?" And I said, "You wouldn't believe what Dave's doing with some of these buildings that were literally going to fall in the Mohawk River."
You touched on rural healthcare. There's another arena where most healthcare institutions, rural, are struggling badly. Enormous losses. And, like most things here, sometimes the narrative takes on a life of its own. Mm-hmm. When you mention win, sad to say that often the narrative is not positive with regard to WIN. It's a fantastic organization. And Mohawk Valley Health Services and Bassett, I'm the chair of the Little Falls Hospital, really has an enormous amount of dedicated people throughout all of it, staff, nurses, doctors, administrators, that work really hard to make sure that this area is well served in healthcare. And that's such a critical pillar for the future of this area. And, transitioning back to leader development, there's a lot of really talented people in the arena that could use help learning what types of leadership methodologies and actions and capabilities allow leaders like yourselves to be successful in this area specifically. And it's unique. Emotional intelligence, for instance, with residents who are very smart doctor-type people, is often lacking. And it's not because those people aren't necessarily capable. It's more because they don't understand the impact of a deficit in emotional intelligence and the broader leveraging of what that brings to not only the person who's, receiving, appropriate, relationship activities, but also the communities in which we operate. And we're really working with people like Dr. Kwanda, for instance, who are in the game and making it really a goal of theirs to deliver excellence in terms of leadership within the context of healthcare in a way that hopefully will ultimately change the narrative in the area, because we have a great foundation here in healthcare. And I'm glad that your dad saw the elements of that and was a beneficiary of that as well. I think, when I look at both of you guys, there's a visionary, futuristic element to leadership that is really important to nurture in this area. And one of the things that attracted, I think, Dan and I is, we have clarity around, what we believe is possible in this area. And you heard him say it. I say it all the time. And sometimes people think you're crazy, particularly people that, have been here and live here. It's almost like the billboard effect, where if you drive by a billboard enough, you don't even notice it anymore. I think a lot of people don't notice the potential that exists here and actually what's happening through and with leaders like yourselves. And so changing that narrative is really important.
Yeah, it is. And we have to believe it as leaders and then say it over and over to the point of maybe nausea, but you have to, like my business is, you have to manifest it yourself. You got to get up every day and show up right, and then people see it.
A lot of talk about narrative on this show, right? We find common denominators with guests, right, and successful people as a whole, and changing the narrative just comes up show after show after show, and I love it. And I want to talk a little bit about leadership. I think it's one of those words where people hear leader and like, I'm not a leader. I make widgets, or I, clean bathrooms, or, whatever. But that's not true, and it's very similar to influencer. Like, if you have 10 people who will listen to you, you are an influencer over those 10 people. If you have 2 or 3 people in your family or your personal network, you're a leader. And I think just changing the mindset that we're all leaders, right? And, it's just this morning, my 14-year-old daughter, I had the rare opportunity, because my wife is sick, to bring her to school. And in our short drive, I said, what do you got going on today? And she's like, I got a math test. She goes, how do you feel about it? I feel good, except and I can't remember what she said. She goes, the first 2 sections are going to be on whatever, and I'm terrible at those. And I said, well, if you tell yourself you're terrible at those, you likely will be, you know, and it's just changing the language. And we had Phil Bean from Conklin Park on.
Great guy.
Amazing guy, right? And you know, he sat here and said, if you tell yourself I'm the ugliest kid in the class, no one's going to take me to the prom, over and over and over again, no one's going to take you to the prom. You know, and you talked about manifesting, right? The thoughts in your head will become the things in your life. So that's a whole long buildup to say, I think it's on all of us in the community listening. We're all leaders to change that narrative. And frankly, I think it's working because, you know, you have school age kids, your kids are a little bit older and now taking a leadership role with Daneli, Jenna. Yep. And my kids are in their teens, and I see a sense of pride in them. You know, we've got 2 in college, one at Hartwick, one in Rochester at Fisher. And both of them want to come back here. It's great. Like they've made it very clear. Like this is home. This is where we want to be. This is where we want to raise our family. And when we've taken them all over the country, you know, and they're like, this is where we want to be. So I do think it's changing. I don't know if we have time on this episode to get too much into the work you're doing with schools, but I love that about you and your team, Dave, because, you know, we're talking about healthcare, right? And taking care of you know, the elderly, the sick. And then we've got this new crop of kids, you know, coming through and you know, just making sure that everyone feels a sense of pride. And this is not the armpit of anywhere, right? This is an amazing place to be. And we're all not only here by choice, but, you know, we want to make it even better. So awesome work, both of you. I want to shift into where the world's going, which is AI. We've had talks about AI and just everything digital. And everything feels less personal, and everyone's in a big hurry to get nowhere. It feels like sometimes, you know, we're all doing things the same way.
Me too.
And, yeah, self-included, right? And so what I love about your story, Dan, and what you're doing with the resort is it gives us the opportunity to pause, to step back, to reconnect with nature. I run sales training groups, and yesterday someone asked a question about burnout. How do you get through burnout? And I said, take your shoes and socks off and just feel the earth. Get into the woods. Turn off the digital distractions, the noise, right? Just be present. You learn the most when you shut this down in silence, right? And that's what I see what you're creating, which I love, and the partnership where we can, it's not work-life balance, it's work-life integration. How do we take leadership skills and things that can serve us in the, you know, corporate world or whatever markets we serve, but also mix in the outdoors and taking a step back. So talk a little bit about how you see, I think this is going to be huge going forward. I think the more machines take over, there's going to be a premium paid for human to human relationships, eyeball to eyeball stuff, and reconnecting with nature, because we haven't changed that much as humans, right? Like we still need that. So I'll shut up and let you guys talk about that.
Man, so full disclosure, I use my Chat GPT every day, and I'm integrating AI into our business. We've got Microsoft Copilot, and I'll talk with my team about that. They'll be like, Dan, how do I do this? And I was like, go to the computer first. I'm not that smart. Sure. I mean, I'm probably going to Google it anyway. So I'm actually working on the leadership end of it. And this is a mindset shift that, Dave, you actually helped me with. I'm having coaching conversations that might last 30 seconds, 5 seconds, a minute. When someone calls me, I'm empowering often and early now. And I'm not seeing that as me being lazy, but more, hey, and also I'm running the long game on this. I'm an ultra marathon, retired now, but I'm looking at step by step. And when I run 100 miles, I still got to do it step by step. So AI, I think, it's here. I'm encouraging people to lean into it for sure to help. But I think there's currency in live events and the human connection, and thinking about businesses where, like what you're doing here, there's real value being created. Construction's another one of those markets where, hey, let's deliver more value to the customer, but not by bloating the back office. Let's make finance run super smooth and easy with not just AI, but automations. I think AI is, it's like the catchword, but really it's about how do I take an AP account and make sure that it flips in and no one's pushing paper around. Let's take those positions and convert those into, hey, we're going to think about the world different. My great-grandfather was the last blacksmith in Deansboro. Okay. He was making nails. They didn't have screws yet. Okay. He was shoeing horses.
Yeah.
That business died. AI is going to accelerate the death of certain things, but it's going to open up so many things also. And when you have an abundance mindset, right, you're not in that, oh my gosh, there's only so much and it's going to get smaller. To me, I think this is the greatest time in the history of the world today.
I agree.
Right. So that's what we're doing. But to go back on Blueberry Brook, I was deeply depressed when COVID hit. It was my son's senior year. I coached him in track. He was going to get the mile and the 2-mile record. He was running 50 miles a week. And that was, I could see it coming. I was like, oh my God, he's not going to get this opportunity. And that made me extremely, I fell into a deep depression. The other was the mud run. And I couldn't do that. And that's why I started making that trail. My wife's like, what the hell are you doing out there? It was me and my 2 dogs. I would just go out. And what I found was that effort that I was giving, I would make the trail. I would go in deeper every day. Or I would like tune up a corner, be like, oh, let me make it this or make it that. But when I came out of the woods, what I realized was that was my medicine. I would look back and be like, because Dave, you're in the trenches every day. It's like you're dealing with people, you're dealing with problems. That's all a CEO is. How do we fix these problems? And then a new one crops up. So I was like, every day at night, I would come out of the woods and be like, wow, I feel better. And I wasn't taking Prozac. I wasn't taking one of these drugs. I wasn't talking to a therapist. I was talking to my Rottweiler and my Labradoodle. Obviously, we were having this humongous national debate about wear a mask, don't wear a mask. That was driving me absolutely nuts because I'm a red, white, and blue guy. They try to get me in a party, and I'm like, I'm in the party of America. Let's do what's right for us, right? We don't have to worry about China beating us. We're crushing ourselves right now. We don't even need the Russians to come attack us. We're doing it ourselves. So in making that trail and getting out in the woods, I realized, oh my gosh, this is helping me. And that's part of what my passion is and what I'm talking to Dave about. Hey, let's do the leadership training in the Blueberry House. It's super inspiring. It's a great place. You feel like you're literally, I tell people we're in the center of the universe of New York. Because we almost, it's the geographical center is the Coonrod. It's just one hilltop over, but we're very, very close.
We've had this debate.
You have too. Yeah. We're not the Catskills. We're not the Adirondacks. We're not the Finger Lakes. We're the center of the universe in New York. Right off the throughway, baby. It's all about branding.
Deansboro Dan.
Deansboro Dan. But what I think is I've gotten this from listening to other leaders. Get out of that office environment. And what we can do in Blueberry is we can do something. We can have these hard conversations. And I actually did this with my Visage group. We did our morning session, and then we just went for a walk. I've got the longest boardwalk in Deansboro, made out of a little privacy fence. And it was cool as I lead the tour, and I've done this with Colgate people too. I look back, and they're just having these conversations. And it just so freaking, there's something about getting out in nature that's disarming. And that's really what attracted me to Dave was, I'm not Luke Skywalker. I'm like one of those little, like, I don't know Star Wars very well, but I know who Yoda is and I know who Luke is. And I'm not Luke, but Dave is definitely Yoda on the leadership level. And he can bring that part to the equation. And then they call me Sherpa Dan. I'll bring the blueberry
names, Dan.
I'll bring the blueberry scones and the muffins. And
makes great scones.
I don't know. I'm working on it every day a little better. That's what lights me up is like getting people out there, in nature. And I'm just blessed that God made these beautiful drumlins and rolling hills, and Ginny and Bob made the most amazing place.
Dave?
Yeah, I think a couple of things as I'm listening that are important is presence like this,
Mm-hmm.
and listening to Dan describe what it is that's special about Blueberry Brook Farms cannot be, replicated through AI or technology. Um, there's an energy here, and there's a passion that's obvious. And every time I'm with you, and frankly you, Scott, I feel it. And that's never going to be replaced by AI. But, AI is here to stay, and it's very valuable when it's used in conjunction with um, efficiency of, data aggregation and dissemination of insights, prompt engineering, the kinds of things that you explain to it that are critical to it then taking information from the broader space of the internet and bringing it quickly to bear for you to consider and then do with it whatever you choose to do with it. I use it spiritually. Have really built, a framework that allows me to speak to it as if I'm, reading deeply into Scripture or applying Scripture to a specific challenge of the day. I explained today to it that I'm meeting with you, and whoever chooses to listen, I want to make sure that we're impacting in whatever way is needed and is consistent with, the higher order. So there's a lot of ways where it's really, really valuable. But, like most things in the world, it can also be used for the wrong reasons. And I think, getting back to and not diving too deeply into the school systems, there's a clear concern amongst teachers. My son's a 12th grade English teacher in Little Falls. There's a clear concern that, unless we really guide the process of how AI is meant to be used and is used properly, then there's a real danger that it could go the way of, traditional social media where there was no sort of high curbs and wide road established. It was just the Wild West, and things have evolved that have created, elements of, unfortunate, things like suicide and bullying and the kinds of things that are, unfortunately part of that world. I think that, if my generation, I'm a boomer, I'm 63 years old, doesn't grasp the value of AI and attach it to the wisdom of a life of experience and learning, then that would be an opportunity cost that would be too bad. So I think, you guys are younger than me, but, to the degree that we can adopt it and combine it, with what, the life of living what we've done professionally and personally, and then giving it back to people through and with our presence and, our behaviors. And this is the right order. Our behaviors, then our words, because, we can say whatever we want, but people generally watch and see what we do. And that's really what impacts people. So that's another reason why presence can't be replicated, and the value of presence can't be replicated with AI. Now you add in the nature component where, there's this whole element of just, allowing the earth and the elements of, what is nature to, be part of that experience it's like the third dimension and the icing on the cake. And when I go to his location, I feel that. We did a human technologies summit. I'm the board chair, previous board chair, a guy by the name of Ryan Miller succeeded me. I know.
He's an all right dude.
Well, great guy. And we did a board retreat there, and it was fantastic. It was probably one of the most open and sharing, events of a summit for a board that I've been part of. And I have to attribute that, at least in part, if not almost wholly, to the setting and to nature.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Thank you. One thing that you touched on, Dave, and this is where I have learned from the recent, I'm going to call them setbacks, failures, giving up. So that's one of the things I want to say is like, and I've had to tell myself this repeatedly, failures when you just throw the towel in. Mm-hmm. Setbacks are great opportunities. I went back and I listened to Screw It, Let's Do It, Richard Branson. If you listen to Ray Dalio, I just heard you speak on this principles. So I took my Chat GPT and I went into the background. I said, Chat, you're my ruthless COO. You're my mentor. I want you to challenge my thought process. Here are my principles. Here's what I stand for. Here are my values. And when I try to be less than what I want to be, it calls me out. It's like, what are you trying to do here?
Yeah.
Are you trying to win a war or are you trying to move forward? Where's your energy going to go? I actually turned it into my personal assistant, my workout assistant. And it's like, I'm not going to win the Olympics. I'm not going to do these things. I want to ski at 100 years old. Okay. I want to live till I'm 150. And I honestly think I'm going to die of stupidity or bad luck. I probably won't make it that long. But I'm good with that. They'll be like, that's how he died. He skied off a cliff. Makes sense.
That's the Dan we know and love.
Yeah. But I do believe that we're going to solve a lot of the disease issues with AI. And, scientists found a cure for apathy, and there's just one problem. No one cares. That's my little joke. But the fact of the matter is, I believe that, God put me on this earth to be a light. Okay. We talk about healthcare. It's like saying, oh man, I got the best auto insurance. I run into a tree every other day and they just keep paying and fixing it. And one of the things that I'm living by example for my team is I've got this hot yoga studio up where you guys held the human technologies offsite. I'm in that studio. My team's seeing me do that. I've got the little workout gym out back. I'm eating right. I'm becoming that example. I can't change the world. All I can do is work on me every day. And it actually started to calm me down when I started to think about it. I was like, if I just look at myself as how do I make Dan a little better every day, it's crazy to think I'm going to fix the national politics or I'm going to make the Mohawk Valley better. I'm just going to work on me.
All right, last topic I want to hit on. You mentioned Deansboro being right between Colgate and Hamilton. I know that you both have ties to Hamilton. You're an alumni. Is it alumni or alumnus? What's the?
I think it's alumnus, and if I got that wrong, they're going to call me.
Yeah, I went to St. John Fisher, so I'm not supposed to know that. You should know, coming from Hamilton.
Alum. I'm an alum.
You're an alum. There you go. That's what I do. When I can't figure out a word, speaking of AI, that would actually help us all right now, right? But if I can't figure out a word, I just use a different one.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about the work you're each doing with Hamilton and the vision you see for Hamilton and maybe even Colgate on this area.
Yeah, so for us, it's funny how things come together. We put the Daneli Partners Mudfest on in 2013. I have no idea why the Hamilton hockey team said, hey, we want to volunteer. Mm-hmm. But every year they bring the entire team and they volunteer. I've actually expanded now into the football team. And we bought what was MKJ Farms.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we've rebranded as Marshall Mountain Resort. All right. And the kids come and they party there. And so we're connected in that way. And then I'm doing this. They want to offset their carbon footprint. So we're planting a bunch of trees, a bunch of blueberry plants, Christmas trees, and they want to come in and be the labor, which is kind of crazy, right, Scott? If somebody said,
Yeah.
"Hey, I want to help you for free," that's a good advantage.
What's the catch?
Yeah, what's the catch? Yeah, and they actually like it, and I think there's a kid that I mentored that graduated last year, Aiden Held. He was captain of the football team. People talk about, these kids these days. Nonsense. I met a lot of really great kids, and Aiden was one of them. And I've got a kid, Graham Stearns, right now. That's my next little Jedi that I'm working with, and he's at Colgate. But he's just another one of those kids. They're so curious. My buddy Dooley says they're not defeated yet by life.
Anyone that says kids these days or paint with a wide brush around it, they're not working with them. It's ignorance.
It's true.
Honestly, because the kids today are more amazing than ever. Honestly,
Absolutely.
So that's awesome.
Yeah, and to that point, more amazing. I think more concerned and purposeful than certainly I was at that age. Yeah. And more stressed about, being what they're thinking others are expecting them to be. And this relates back to the Hamilton point. There's a lot of brilliant minds who've done really well in the early part of their lives to get into Hamilton and are now trying to figure out, where to aim their gaze in the world. And the interesting thing is when they look to aim their gaze, they look past the Mohawk Valley and Utica. I think for a lot of reasons, but one of them is that's just been the norm. When I was in Hamilton, it was very rare to have someone from this area, there. And when you were there, you didn't really spend a lot of time in the communities in this area. Thankfully, I think that's changing for a lot of reasons. The new president is really focused on integrating with the communities here. I think that coming off the Hill and being part of, the needs here from a civic perspective and leveraging the skills and talents of, those talented kids is really important. And in a reciprocal way, those kids need to understand through experiencing, the communities in which, Hamilton College sits within that need their help and how they can help. The socioeconomic spectrum is skewed in many ways to the lower end here. And, one of the things Daneli's mission points to is that within that lower socioeconomic category, there's some really capable, talented, ethical people that just need a sight line to, give them a chance to become all that they can become. And I think when you integrate, what you identify as the students at Hamilton with, the population here and each learns from the other, there's a magic to it. And it accelerates what we're trying to do here. So we are working with Hamilton to try to complement that in some meaningful way with leadership development. Met with, the Levitt Center of Public Affairs, which is a segment of the college that's really focused on, helping students with, public affairs roles and, pointing them in the right direction to give them, a launching pad. And they are doing remarkable things. And then Heather Hage at Griffiths Institute, who's also a Hamilton alum, as is her dad, are really integrating what Griffiths Institute does into what I just said could be a triumvirate of a complementary nature to sort of facilitate leveraging what that talent pool is there into what's happening in some of the, real positive areas here, like what Griffiths Institute is doing in the tech arena. So really excited and really want to make Daneli and frankly Little Falls, a place where this happens. Yeah. Our stone mill building, 1839 vintage, both of you been there, on the Mohawk River Erie Canal, famous for manufacturing Union Army uniforms in the Civil War, is a really unique setting as part of Canal Place. And, both Hamilton College and Griffiths Institute have visited and thought, this is a really interesting sort of adjacent setting for, creating an experiment like I've described in a community in the region that could then be an example for other communities. So we're really trying to nurture that and move that forward. And that's become a passion for me this year in 2026.
That's awesome. 45 minutes or so into this, my mind is wondering, like, when do you guys sleep? Right? I mean, in 45 minutes, we've covered higher level education. We've covered, the work you do with kids, the work you're doing with leaders. You've both mentioned that you serve on different boards. You're both very philanthropic. You're running the Mud Run and Blueberry Brook, and it's just, I don't want to say, we can't spend a lot of time on this, but I'm fascinated by time, and we all get the same 24 hours. What would be just a quick sentence or two around your philosophy on time and how you get as much as you get done, each of you?
Leverage, having a clear vision, not pouring time and effort into non-value, empowering others. And again, I'm on the low level of Jedi. But to me, and then persistence, and also I tell the kids, and this is something I got out of Hamilton: find something that tickles you right here, and then it's not really work. Yeah. I do have trouble shutting it down. I get up early, and that helps shut it down. But I call it
great answer.
Hamster in the wheel.
Leverage, empowerment, and what I'm hearing. This is Gene Wickman traction. Your big rocks, your top priorities. Mm-hmm. A lot of energy there. Yeah. Right. And trust others to do the things that just don't light you up. Dave.
Yeah, I would add to that love. I think the older I get, the more I use love as a factor to discern whether I'm using time effectively. I love the community of Little Falls. I love the Mohawk Valley. I love you both for all the reasons we're tight. I love the people that work for us and try to improve their station as best as I can every day. I love my family, and spending time with them in a loving environment is a very, very, very good use of time. So I think if I chase what I love, then I'm likely going to fall into using time properly.
I might mess up the author's name. I think it's John Hope Bryant. Love Leadership. Have you heard of this book?
Heard of that, yes.
Yeah, great read. And anyone that knows Dave Casullo knows that there's no BS detected there. You're a hugger. You're a lover. Yep. It's growing up, when I grew up and the way I grew up, and I won't get too deep here, but my father was never one to say I love you. And then for me to get to where I am now, and I start listening to different leaders, and Ed Milet comes to mind, big podcast guy. He'll have guests on and he'll say, I love you, brother. Right? And you can tell he means it, right? Yeah. And I'm like, that's weird. And I've reached a point in life where I'm like, I love you, Dave. Like, that's okay.
Yeah, right back at you.
And you do the same. And to be in your presence is just an energy lifter. And you certainly make everyone better. And Dan, this is the first time we're meeting. It's not going to be the last.
No.
And I'm excited to have you in the network now. part of the family, and excited to see where Blueberry Brook Farms goes, because I just think the integration of everything that we're all trying to accomplish, listeners included, it's just a great spot to kind of, it's there, but so is all the important stuff with the connection and camaraderie and nature, and meaningful conversations without the digital distractions. So I love what you're doing, and obviously huge fan of Daneli and the leadership that you guys do. So thank you both for coming on, and excited to see where we can take this thing in the future.
Thank you, and huge fan of what you're doing as well. This is fantastic.
Thanks.